know we've all heard of the 3-hour-long movie, the love story of Jack and Rose and the thrilling shipwreck scene. But how much do you actually know of the tragic event that took place April 14th in 1912? After watching The Titanic, I became very interested in the tragic event and wanted to further my research. I came across so many interesting facts about the ship and its first class qualities that I'm excited to share with you today. Let's begin. The Titanic took many years to be built, 3 years to be exact, considering it was the largest ship being built in its time period. History on the Net provided me with information of the construction of the ship. The ship began construction in 1909 in Belfast, Ireland. The Titanic was built side by side to its sister ship, the Olympic. The ship costed around $7.5 million to be built, considering there were no facilities big enough to handle a ship that big. Therefore, that also consisted of a lot of workers. There were over 15,000 people working on the Titanic and its sister ship, taking place in a very dangerous construction site. A lot of lives were taken of the workers who were working on it. Sadly enough, they couldn't even see the final product. The Titanic was known to be the unsinkable ship. Even a worker at the time said, "Not even God himself could sink this ship." The owner of the shipbuilding company used was Lord Pirret. There were so many requirements and so much thought put into the building of the ship. It was constructed with 16 watertight compartments, each with automatic doors that would shut if the water levels ever got too high. The Titanic had 3 functioning funnels at the top of it that were used to expel smoke and waste gases. The 4th one was just for show and to make the ship look even more powerful. Now that I've discussed the construction of the Titanic, I want to discuss the interior part. The Titanic had the most outstanding features and was beautiful to the eye. The designer of the Titanic was Thomas Andrews, who was also head of Harland and Wolff Design. Found from fandom.com, the ship consisted of a gymnasium with all the newest workout equipment, staterooms that were all luxuriously finished, and a cafe that was designed to look like a Paris street cafe. And lastly, it had the first ever sea-filled swimming pool on board. And since there was no technology around to actually keep it heated, it was heated by the boilers on the ship. The Titanic was separated by first, second, and third classes. It didn't depend on the price of the ticket that was purchased. It depended on your personal wealth. The ship had extensive facilities for the first class passengers and very nicely furnished rooms. The rooms consisted of 1 or 2 beds, a side couch, a table, and its own bathroom. Second class cabins were technically equivalent to what first class bedrooms would have looked like on normal sized ships. They consisted of a bed, bunk beds, a table, couch, but no bathroom. The third class bedrooms consisted of just a bunk bed and a sink. No bathroom, that was it. Although they didn't get the nicest rooms, each third class passenger was accounted for, and they were just joyful to be on the first voyage of the Titanic. Lastly, I'm going to discuss the departure and the shipwreck of the Titanic. The Titanic set sail on April 10th in 1912. It was a very exciting day for everyone, as the largest ship to be built was taking off for the first time. Lastly, from history.com, I found that 4 days after the Titanic had set sail, they had received messages, along with other ships that were on sail, that there had been spotted icebergs en route. At 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, the gigantic iceberg was spotted, which would soon sink the Titanic. The SOS messages were sent out once the people realized that the Titanic would not last hitting the iceberg. Just before midnight, the Titanic failed to curve its course from the iceberg, rupturing 5 of its 16 departments. Each of the departments were flooded to the max, pulling down the bow of the ship. There were also a lack of lifeboats, leading many passengers to sink with the ship or jumping and freezing to their death. More than 15,000 lives were taken in the most painful way possible, leaving only around 700 survivors that were mostly women and children. In conclusion, the Titanic was a very memorable movie that covered the tragic shipwreck in 1912 and recognized all the people's lives who were taken. It was one of the most famous tragedies in its time period and took so many innocent lives. The construction of the ship was spent so wisely and took extreme amount of effort and time. It was built to be the biggest and fastest ship in the world, which quickly took a turn. The ship had so many amazing features specifically built for each of its classes and for the most enjoyable voyage. Sadly, the Titanic was not durable enough when it struck the iceberg and had no control over what were to happen next. The Titanic was extremely devastating, and everyone should have acknowledged about the event and remember the lives that were taken. In the end, the Titanic was a very memorable, tragic event and will forever be remembered for its outstanding features and its devastating sinking. Thank you.